And what does total physical response involve? Does anybody have a good definition for it? Okay, I'll wait for you to put some ideas out there. And hopefully you use it with your learners, because I do believe that total physical response, even though it's mostly for young learners, it can be used with adults as well. Yes, that's a great definition, Ola. Okay, to respond to language using gestures. The one thing you do have to be careful about is that in different cultures in different countries, and Mary will know this, Maria will know this, and Mary, that certain gestures you have to watch out for because they can be offensive in some countries. But basically, it's learning words, learning language, using your hands, your feet, your entire body. So we'll go to the next slide. Now, I use this with my young learners mostly, but I also use it with my adults. So why total physical response? Well, one of the reasons is because it's very healthy. Most of the students, when they come in, they sit in the classroom and they sit all day, and that's not very healthy. But when you use total physical response, or TPR, then you're very active, and then you get the students to move, and it's a lot of fun, and they laugh, and that's very good and healthy for them. The other thing is because of retention. It's been shown that learners, language learners, that when they associate a word with their body part, that they're able to retain it. They're able to recall it back from memory. And because it's fun, the students really enjoy this. Even adults enjoy this. And I'll show you a few lessons that I do with adults that aren't too silly. It breaks up the routine. So, for example, if you're there for 3 hours, sometimes we have classes for 3 hours, it could get a bit boring. So maybe like every hour you have a TPR type of activity, then this can really break up the monotony. My friend Rakesh here helping me, of the entire school day. And that's really good because the brain actually needs breaks. It needs constant breaks to be able to retain the knowledge and information. So TPR helps in that way. And also because it's a great way to learn, especially vocabulary. But there are some things that are much easier, some themes. For example, well, actually, why don't you type some themes that you think would be that the vocabulary that's best learned by TPR? Like, what are some subjects? For example, maybe the seasons isn't as easy to do with total physical response. But what are some themes that you can think about? Okay, so maybe food. Oh, yes, fantastic. I am hungry. It's something that you can mimic. Yeah. Anything else? Maybe sports. Maybe verbs. Verbs are extremely great to teach students TPR. Adverb.
Slowly, quickly, loving.
Yes. See, I have my partner here, Rakat, who's also an English language teacher. Yes, exactly. That's a great example of the different adverbs. Another thing is also body parts. That would be kind of I guess, an obvious one. But there's many different themes that you can incorporate this with. And there's other themes if you do holidays and stuff like that. So this is a crazy picture of me. Because how do you introduce TPR? Well, first of all, you may want to try a felt board. If you have a felt board, then you can put the gestures up. You can put, like, in the middle, you see a little man there. You can put a little person, and the person could be doing the gestures. But that's not the best way. I think the best way is actually just model the movement. Do it yourself. So you can see me with my head here. Does anyone know this song that is very, very popular that you use with language learners? And I'll give you a clue. Maybe you can't see the webcam too well, but hopefully you can see it a little bit to see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to show you the movements because this is what I do with my students. And then you tell me what I'm pointing to. So, you see that? Okay. Well, you can see it in the picture. So what am I pointing to in the picture? Okay, exactly, my head. And the next thing would be my shoulders. And then the next thing would be, can anyone guess what the next one would be? So I have head, shoulders, close, head, shoulders. This is a very famous TPR song. And it goes head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Yes, you're moving ahead. So the best way is to model the movement. Ask the students themselves what you're pointing to, and then they say something like head, then they can say shoulders. And if they remember it, if they've learned this before, then some of them might even start singing it. So it's much better when you model to also try to get them to respond. Yes, someone said, Simon said, but you're moving ahead. Okay, so how to integrate TPR? Well, there's songs, just like we did, head, shoulders, knees, and toes. There's games, there's finger plays, there's story time, and also when you're teaching vocabulary. Yeah, that's a great way. If you can say, you can ask questions like that too. Can you touch your head? Okay, so different types of songs. Here you have head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Eyes and ears and mouth and nose. When I do this, I sometimes leave out some of the words, and then the students have to say it themselves. So they have to call out whatever the word is. So if I go head, shoulders, then the next round, after I sing it again, then that they will subtract that. So it might be shoulders, knees and toes, and so we take out the head. That's one way we do it. Sometimes we do it fast or slow. I really like the slow one. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. And then the kids love the fast one after that. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. But the good one is also you can do the hokey pokey. That's another really good one. For teaching left and right, you teach different types of directions and things like that. Another one, can you think of any other songs that are really good for TPR? Yes, your hip bone's connected to your thigh bone. Okay, so these are all really good types of songs. Finger plays, different types of fingers. Now this one you mostly move your fingers. But there are really good ones like Where is Thumpkin, because you do each of the fingers and they dance. But then you also have something like Mama's glasses. Here are grandmother's glasses. Or you have something if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands, stomp your feet. So all of these types of songs and finger plays are really good, and they're especially good for young learners. Different types of games. Now, Maria said earlier that there was, Simon said, in my classroom we call it bitte, and the reason why is because I teach German young learners, and so we say please, and then so they know bitte, but they say, of course, please instead of bitte, and so what they say is please do this, please do that, and then I'm not the only one who does it. I start off, but then it's good to get the kids to do this. Each kid takes a turn, and this is how we begin the day. Because then, when they come in the classroom, they're usually very noisy and loud, and they just finished from their other classes. So, and some of them just got up from a nap. So we do this, and we do the please game. We don't do Simon because they don't know Simon. It's not culturally relevant to them. But they do know please, and it also teaches them my directions, because then that's what I say. I say, please sit down, and then they sit down. Please touch your nose, and then they touch their nose. Now, sometimes because they're beginners, they may need a little help, okay? Oh yes, that's a great one, Maria, to play I Spy with my little eye. That's fantastic. So that's how we begin the day. Now, when you do I Spy, that one would be a good one maybe for the middle of the classroom, or maybe to introduce different vocabulary that's around, especially if you put pictures of the vocabulary on the wall, which is something that I do. So all of these are ways that TPR also helps you to introduce lessons. But sometimes not only with, and I have to go back to games, is sometimes I make them do their own. Like sometimes if there's a word and I ask them, well, how would you integrate this, or what kind of body movement would you do? Sometimes we do things where they'll have a word and they have to mime the word. And that's a form of total physical response as well. When they're miming words, and then the other person, their partner, has to guess what the word is. So, or a phrase. So this is part of total physical response as well. Yeah, I think it's called the senses game. That's a good question, Maria. Where they have to guess the different objects. Yeah, that's a really good game to play too. And you can play that in pairs. A lot of times I do that with pairs where they do the guessing. But that's a great one, especially if they have things that are soft and hard, and you can do opposites with that as well. So that's a great game. Thank you. I think it's the census game. Um, I think there's also one where you can do different types of smells as well, and they have to guess what kind of smell it is. This is great for story time. So if you have a story, then ask the kids to have the characters and to do different things with the characters. They can do different verbs. Um, like for example, if you have the centipede or the hungry caterpillar, then there are different things that you can do with that, where the kids or all of you as a group agree on what kind of things could be the movement or the gesture during a certain type of repetition inside the book. So maybe a bead, and they could buzz around and things like that. And the next one, let's see, here we go. Where did it go? Okay. Is a great way to teach vocabulary. Now this is where adults come in. Especially when you're doing verbs. I did this one unit where I had to teach verbs to beginners, and it was things like kiss. So what we did is we all gathered up as a class, and then we actually did the gestures. You know, we did kiss, we did lick, we did point, we did different types of verbs. Whisper. We also did blow. We did whistle. So this was a great way that the students really enjoyed shouting, yes, laughing, ha ha ha. So this was a great way to teach a lesson to adult learners and use total physical response. And then what we did is we had people come up, and then we had to guess what the verb was that they did. So that was a bit of fun with adult learners. I also did this with teenagers, and they loved it. So there are different types of ways you can teach vocabulary as well, and your learners will, even if they're adults and they're teenagers, they'll really enjoy this as well. So also, one of the things you can do to reinforce this is you can have them draw the movements. Often they like to trace each other's hands and things like that. You can have them use puppets. I mean, there are other ways that you can do gestures as well, so that way you can make it fun. One of the things that I really, really liked a lot was Barbara Sakamoto, and she's at Barbara Saka on Twitter. So if you're on Twitter, let me go ahead and write her name. And she has a great blog. It's called, it's for young learners, and it's Teaching Village, and I believe it's .org. And one of the things she did with TPR, she published her students' movements online. So she teaches young learners in Japan, and she had them do an alphabet book. So 3 of the learners, or 4, or how many, would get together and they would do every single letter of the alphabet. So she put it on a voice thread, which means that you can see the picture, just like you can see the picture here. And so you had them do an A or B or C. But with VoiceThread, it's a free service, and I'll write that down in the chat box. People can leave comments. So what she did was she invited students around the world to say what started with an A, what started with a B. So this is a great way that she used total physical response. She published online, and she created an alphabet book with several kids from around the world. And it was really wonderful. Like some kids, I think from Finland would say A is for apple, and then another one from Mexico would say A is for, I don't know.
Amor.
Amor. Well, in English, hopefully. So this is one way, you can do an alphabet book. So I think sometimes it's really great to have your students film the gestures. I get my iPhone a lot. When the students don't want to participate, when they're just getting restless and stuff, then I'll film their feet stomping or their hands clapping, and then I'll put it up on the LCD projector. You may not have a whiteboard. If you do, you can put it up there, and then they start getting into it because they see themselves in the camera doing this. Or sometimes I just show them the camera with the movement, and they get all excited, and then they start following along. So there are different ways to digitalize it as well. I have put these on my wiki, different ones that we do. So you'll see, and this is englishstorytime.pvworks.com. So let me go ahead and write that in the chat box. I'd screen share, but I don't know if my internet connection will allow that. But at englishstorytime.pvworks.com, I have many of the different types of finger plays, chants, and also the total physical response games we do. I often put YouTube videos so the kids can see them. The Wiggles, they love the Wiggles, and the Wiggles have a channel on YouTube, so you can show them that. Or you can just show them different kids doing it. There are many, many different examples on YouTube of ways to do these very famous auto-physical response games. And the reason that I put it on the wiki, a wiki is a free website for teachers, and it has templates, and it's very collaborative. But one of the reasons why I use the wiki is because I really enjoy the parents participating. And the parents, I found, wanted to play these games with the children at home. So what they did was I would put the videos and examples and the words and the gestures and pictures online, and then the parents would go home and they would work with their child, and they would do this just for fun. So I want to encourage you to do that. And so we're going to wrap up. Does anybody else have any other ideas for total physical response for language learners? Maybe for adult learners especially, or maybe for teenagers? And of course, total physical response can be to also end the lesson. So not only to introduce the lesson and begin it, but I always end with the lesson. Well, that is a good question. Okay, so Ola, you asked, is it kind of limited to certain English level? I think it works really well with beginners, actually. I think that's the best level to do it with. It could work with other levels, but for example, an advanced level, I don't know if it would work too well with an advanced, but pre-intermediate, so maybe A1, A2, even up to B2, if you're used to the European framework. Yeah, so it might be. But you can end the lesson. I always have a goodbye song as a way to end the lesson, especially for the young learners. They love it. Now, if I can only remember the young learners one that I It goes, okay, so it says, raise your hand, touch the sky, turn around, wave goodbye, 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 see you soon, kiss, goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Okay, Maria, how does the wiki connect to TPR in class? The way it connects to TPR in class is that I show the videos of how to do the TPR so the parents can do them with the students at home. So that's the way. Or if we do videos of the TPR inside the classroom, like where I just do like their leg stomping and stuff like that, then they can review the vocabulary that way. Or they can review the song and stuff. Yeah, like show and tell. Or it's actually also to be an example, like if you share, it's the difference between sharing a worksheet of the song. So, for example, if a parent comes to me, and this has happened actually, a parent will say, oh, I want to learn head, shoulders, knees, and toes so I can do this with my kid. Then usually they ask for the words. But the problem with a worksheet is that I can't show them the gestures. So online, they can have the words, and then I can give them a video so they can see how they can do it with their child. The wiki, I use the wiki more for the parents than for the kids, for my wiki. So it's just like an example so they can see how it works. Oh, that's a very, very, very good question. Okay, so websites where you can find TPR. There are some, and I'll put them up. I'll make a note on Facebook and do it. So let me put my Facebook. There is one called GenkiEnglish.net. You have to pay, but he has some free ones at the beginning. And I'll list a whole bunch of them. And also, if you go on Google, so that's my Facebook, but if you go on Google and you just search TPR, then you'll find tons of them. But the other one is GenkiEnglish.net. And he has some free games and free things, especially like with monsters, emotions. One of the games I really like a lot is there's one where where you have to gesture like I'm hungry, I'm sad and things like that. So he does gesture. At GeekyEnglish.net. He does show a lot for free. He does have a lot of free games and songs and also videos that go with it. Another one is Cullen's ABCs, and I've shared hers before. But she's Cullen's ABCs, and she has this wonderful channel, especially for young learners. And she is not an English language teacher, but her stuff is beyond phenomenal. And she has a free online course for preschoolers. So she has so much. She even has a YouTube channel where she shows you all the songs. Well, I'll let you get back to your Friday, and I'm going to be off now to go eat my dinner. So thank you all so much for coming, and if you have any questions, you can